Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to use the Figma grid, not just how to use it. We're going to look at some of the default properties and behaviors of a grid. And at the end of this tutorial, we're going to be using the same grid system to create a simple hero section. If you're new to my channel, kindly hit the subscribe button and let's get into it. To get started, I'm going to hit the letter F on my keyboard to create a frame. Once I do this, I'm going to make sure I'm selecting the frame and I'll click on this icon here. So once you click on this, it's automatically going to create a grid for you. You notice we now have 4 different sections inside this frame. Each of this section is referred to as a cell. Here, we can add more cells to this. Once I click on this, I can increase the numbers of the columns to 3, and the row we can also increase that to 3 as well, and I can do that. So here we can place items inside each of the cells. To try that, I'm going to copy this image, Command C, and I will select one of the cells. Once it's selected, it will be highlighted. I can then paste this, and you notice that the image is not completely visible. One thing with grid is that it allows us to cover not just one cell, but more than one cell with our element without breaking the arrangement. So now this particular image is covering 2 cells and it can cover more than that. So here I can drag this and it's going to cover 3 cells, and we can do this here, the same here, and it's covering this other space. But for now, we just want this to cover at least 2 space here. And I can grab this image here and say, okay, we also want this here. And let's paste this here. And it's going to cover this particular cell. Let's look at some of the behaviors of the grid. If I drag this and try to overlay this on this particular space, what it's going to do is it's going to push the original item that was there, and then it will take up that particular space. This is how the grid works in CSS. So let's try to do this here. It's going to push it. As long as they are elements, they keep on rearranging each other within the parent container. So here, there are more other default features to grid that you need to know to start using it. So I'm going to create a rectangle out here, and I'm going to duplicate this here. So let's see one thing. I'm going to drag this and drop this inside this, my particular cell, and notice automatically it fills up that space. What if that is not what you want? You want that to have a fixed width and height the way it was created outside. So here I'm going to Command X or copy this, and I'll select one of this cell and then paste this here. You notice this time it comes with the height and width that we created it with. So here we can play around with this item. You can rearrange it the way you want. So here we can just use these items here to just do the rearrangement, whatever you want within that particular cell. You can move it, and you can as well increase the size of this particular item inside that cell. So but by default, this is the position of an item with a fixed height and width when you paste that inside a cell in Figma. So it takes up this particular position. Let's look at some other behaviors of this, because we can actually, instead of putting individual item inside every cell, we can actually put a group of items inside a cell. I'm going to head to the Figma files here for the grid, and I'm going to copy this. Bring it back here and we can paste it here. For this item, I'm going to duplicate this here. So let me just show you what's going to happen here. I'm going to grab this and place it in one of these cells here. You notice that the items in this particular group are stretched to the end. So automatically they are filling that content. But let's look at how Figma created these files. What they did is each of this rectangle here is having a width set to fill. So we can change this here and set that to fix. Once this is fixed now, the parent is an auto layout, so by default it's going to take up all this space. So I'm going to drag this. So let's just cut that and then paste this in here. So you notice the parent automatically takes up the whole space, but the children here, that's this children inside, are now having fixed width. So I can select any of this item and decide to make this to fill up the container. That's the parent container. So here I can just adjust the height and width as we mentioned earlier, and you can rearrange this to position the item where you want this to be. So basically, this is how you can use the grid, and these are some of the default properties. But let's actually create a real world example with this. I'm going to create a hero section. I have some text already here. So what I need to do is to hit the letter F on my keyboard and then create this. So what I want here, I think this width is too large, so I'll just 508 here. That's for the, and then I'll just do something like this. So now, after doing this, let's add the grid here. For our hero section, we need 2 columns. So we can hit here. Yes, we have the 2 columns that we need. So let me make that 2. And here, the row should be 1. So item 1 and item 2. So what I want to do now is to grab this, my text here. I think I have that. Let me zoom in so we can all see. I have this text here. So I'm going to select this, Command X to cut this, and make sure I'm selecting this particular column. I'm going to paste this. So by default, these items are not visible. So let me just change the color of this. So I'm going to do this here. Let me pick this color as my background color. This. So for this, I can make that darker, something like so. Just not the best option, but then. So for this, my item, you notice that it's taking the default position we discussed earlier. So it's left for you to then align this item, and it will sit perfectly here at the center where we want it to be. Now we can look for any of these images. So we can grab, let's say this, or any other image, bring that here, and I'm going to select this particular cell and paste this here. But for our hero section, what if you don't want this image to cover everywhere? Like I said, we can adjust this item here. So once you adjust this, you can just place that at the center or where you want this to be. So if I create a, let's say a MacBook Pro here, create this, and I grab this hero section, I can cut that, Command X, and then paste this in here, and let's align this here. And now I just need to fill up this space here, so drag and then cover this space and make sure that it's 12. And we have our hero section on this particular design here. We can even replace this image that's not looking solid. So I can copy this and just remove this image here, and we can just paste this here, and this looks brighter and also better. So here I can just change the size of this. So let's just change the size of this here and arrange this item here. So you see, we now have this item. So now you can actually do a lot of things with the grid system, and developers actually love this because it is easier to write this code. If I should select this and then switch to dev mode, you notice it's going to give this a display grid and then apply some template columns for this. It's easier to maintain and is responsive. So if you're new to my channel and you want to see more tutorial tips like this, kindly hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.